what do you do when someone just holds your hand or say, hey, let's meet in a hotel room, or let's meet, how does someone handle all that?
Can an advocate get empaneled as external NGO member in the IC?
Yeah, so the law actually states that the external member has to be from an organization who is working towards the cause of preventing sexual harassment, or is in the cause of social work where they're working with women and minorities. So it can be anyone who can be on the,
If the organization is small? Even if the organization just has 5-10 employees?
Okay. So if the organization has less than 10 employees, then they don't have to comply with the law in the sense that there's no internal committee, etc., because there has to be at least 4 members. So if 4 out of 5 members are internal committee, it's a little difficult. So in that case, there is a local committee in every district. So this local committee is responsible to make sure that these organizations, which is even the unorganized sector like the domestic help that we have at house, or organizations smaller than 10, that's where they can go to if there is a case of sexual harassment or if there's anything that they need to do. Regardless, I would always recommend that even if you have a small workplace, apart from the law, apart from complying the law, I think that it's important that we still start actively working on our work culture. And if we can start having these type of conversations at a very sort of nascent place, I think that'd be really helpful.
We have a question from Shrita. How can we say that there is gender equality in India? Is it true that we have equality in India following equal opportunity for men and women? Men and women experience this situation like harassment, etc.
I don't believe there's gender equality in India. In fact, I don't believe there's gender equality anywhere in the world. We are far away from that.
Yeah, we're still trying to understand how many genders should be taken seriously.
Yes.
Because you're finding new terminologies every day. It's just creating more of a mess, but kind of disintegrate it more and more, rather than making it more and more inclusive and common for everybody.
As what I've noticed in businesses in India is sometimes work hours get over at 5, but men meet up in pubs or outside for dinner, and decisions are taken out at dinner times. How do women handle this situation?
I don't know how women can handle this situation when when people who are taking these decisions outside have not created an inclusive place for us, right? I feel like this is something that at a leadership level, at a management level, they need to be very conscious of. And let's say, even if they are making such decisions, having such conversations outside, that maybe they can repeat and have the same conversation next day in the office when there are others present as well. In fact, I see that this kind of a situation, yes, many a times women do experience it more. In fact, even, there are some organizations, there are some groups, some employees in the organization who they do like to go out after work hours and spend time, and they'll end up discussing work. And there is still a certain group of people, including all genders, who don't have the time to be able to have such conversations outside because they have so many other responsibilities, families, etc. outside. So I feel like when we are talking about truly creating an inclusive culture, this means that making sure everybody has a voice, making sure everybody has space to contribute to whatever conversations and discussions that are happening. So if we are used to having these conversations outside, maybe then the next step we can do is let's bring them back to the organization where everybody else can also contribute to it.
For a woman who wants to grow up the ladder, she needs to deliver, but the society is such, when if I am the head of the organization, yes, I will work towards creating an inclusive environment. But when I'm a part of the organization and I'm not a head of the organization, and this is the system in the country, you will have to go with it. And so what happens is, when either you choose and say, hey, I'm coming out for dinner to discuss this, and you face harassment, or you say, okay, I will have to lose a part of my career by not participating in this. Another thing I've noticed is, today in our country, there is a lot of corruption at every level, whether it is administrative, whether it is in the judicial level. And how does a woman go and handle these situations if she is in a managerial position?
I agree.
So, and what do you do when someone just holds your hand or say, hey, let's meet in a hotel room, or let's meet, how does someone handle all that? What is your advice?
I think this would really depend on a case-to-case basis. I do believe that many a times, I think we end up having to choose between our careers sometimes, because that is what comes at stake, right? Like, the fear that if I don't go with this, I'm going to end up losing my job, or that if I go with this, then the impact that it would have is just very, very, very big, very drastic to think of. I think that really depending on what kind of a situation you are in, I know that sometimes it is possible to just say no, or offer a diplomatic solution, or offer another way out, and then maybe take it up with the organization. But I do notice that I feel like so I know that we are really looking for what is it that women can do to get out of these situations. And sure, maybe we can come up with a lot of things that women can do, but I'm not sure how sustainable or how helpful they even would be, just because of the sheer impact of it. If we are to disagree, if we are to say no to it, and we maybe walk away with a loss of job, we maybe walk away with so I think that what it would be very important is to highlight this to the management, to the leadership level, or to bring it up in a public forum, which is what we've seen in the Me Too movement that was happening. That the impact was on its organizations, where they realized that, okay, they are not doing enough to help create a positive environment for their employees, for women at workplace. So in these situations, like specifically, let's say if a woman is being invited to a hotel room, really, I mean, I hope that the woman has the strength in her, the courage in her to be able to say no, and to then later take it up with the concerned authorities. I know that there's no straightforward answer to this, that women are dealing with this every day.
So I'll share my experiences.
Yes, please.
So number one, if someone says, hey, let's meet at a hotel, I would ensure there were two men coming along with me. Number one. Number two, I used to ask other women, successful women, hey, what do you do? How do you handle situations like this? So I remember this lady, she was a consumer judge. And she told me, as a woman, you know whether the person is actually and making a pass, you know the feeling. And when you know how to deal with it. Whether you want to deal with it, or you can send another colleague of yours to deal with the person on the same situation. But please understand, in our business houses, in our organizations, no one is interested in whether the woman is safe or not safe. What they're interested is in getting the business moving forward. Women need to tend to themselves, and we need to ensure that they are not in positions of where they are in unsafe places, where they're alone with someone, where they are with people who are very powerful. It's how we carry ourselves. These are situations, these are issues that need to be spoken, especially now, because more and more women are going into workplaces, and workplaces is just not the IT houses. Workplaces is in all cities, all kinds of towns, all kinds of locations, and all kind of positions, whether it is in the government, whether it is in the private organization. These are topics which need to be spoken about.
Absolutely. Maybe this just gives me an idea that maybe this is something that we need to maybe do next. We create a community where we hear from other women who have experienced these situations and how they have responded and reacted to it, and maybe that will inspire other women and maybe just inform them to know what can be done. Maybe that's something that I think that would be a really interesting survey as well.
I think we need to look at, I remember one, when I was working in my previous job, we were supposed to receive 100 crores, and the IAS officer, in spite of the chief minister ready to give it, did not pass it because all he was interested in having an affair. So these are issues where people get impacted and you just have to live through it. And these are issues that I want us to address. When you talk about gender equality, when you talk about sexual harassment, when you talk about how does a woman handle all this? These are questions that need to be asked by our participants. These are questions that we need to discuss. These are questions that we need to address.
In fact, I was just reading this other question from Shrikant on chat, where he's asking, what is the strong step to step all this inequality? Is there any implementation steps, or just we have to talk about this? Because I feel you, I understand. I feel like, yes, sometimes we do feel helpless and stuck because all we do is talk about it. But I feel like just talking about it is also extremely powerful. When more and more people hear about this, hear about things that can be done, or hear about the fact that what is happening is an inequality in the first place. So when we are able to identify all of this, we can start taking small steps. It can start from individual, it can start at an organization level. There are a lot of steps that can be taken, right? As we discussed in the last few minutes of the webinar, there are so many things that people can do at each level, whether it's at an organizational policy level, infrastructure level, or at an individual level, where we are able to identify and change behaviors in our own selves, or point it out, highlight it when our parents are behaving in such way. So yes, it may feel like the change is that we can't really see the change because it's so stagnant or because it's so slow. But I think this is where we start, by talking, by creating awareness. When by creating awareness, just continue to create awareness, right? When you have attended 15 plus webinars on these issues, how many conversations have you had with other people in your life who have not attended these webinars? Or what is it that you think you can do on your own? How many people can you impact on your own? Maybe those are the things that we start looking at as well.
The reality is, in today's culture, you said speak up. When something is not right, speak up. In today's culture, as long as it doesn't impact you, you just turn your head and walk off.
Absolutely.
This is the culture we are living into. This is the culture we are grooming our children into. This is the culture we are encouraging among our colleagues. This is something we need to address. Another thing I wanted to talk about is our public places. Airports, whether I'm giving you my personal example. I had to travel to Assam, to northeast country, states. And so I had to go to Calcutta, stay the night at Calcutta, and then take the next flight to Baghdad. I had to stay in the Calcutta airport. And you won't believe it, there were no latches to the doors of the rooms available in Calcutta airport. And I'm a woman. And I had to stay there in the night. I wanted to take a room in the Chennai airport. Look of the person who wants to give the room is, you are a prostitute if you are wanting to stay in the night in Chennai airport. They're not willing to give a room. So we need to ensure the infrastructure in our country is more friendly towards safer places. There's so much. Some of them I can remember, so I'm sharing. I remember I was going to Bihar very regularly. Somebody would say, "You're going alone to Bihar?" "Yes, I'm going." Are you not afraid?" "No, I'm not afraid." But when you listen to the stories that are happening around you, you can understand why it is not safe for women to go alone. So, but these are issues that need to be spoken, need to be addressed. We need women who are actually in the workplaces to come forward and actually ask these questions so that they are addressed.
I think what would be even more impactful and powerful would be to see a man talk about these issues, to see a man talk about how his peers are contributing to this kind of an environment where there's misogyny, there's casual sexism, there's men acknowledging, yes, their own behaviors need to change. Or maybe I would love to see a man talk about gender equality, gender inequality.
I'd like to mention a case I faced sometime back. It's about 2 years back. I was in Goa for a party, ceremony and stuff. And the DJ was playing. I was like, the DJ. A girl walks behind me and touches my behind and literally presses it. So I just turned around and started yelling at her. And 4 guys come up to me and they're like, you cannot, yell at a girl like this. And it's very difficult to deal with such situations because if you who are visualized as the oppressor, if you're a man most of the times, and you'll be like, okay, I should keep quiet and not say anything to deal with it peacefully, but it backfires. If you don't speak out, it backfires really bad. You are sent into a zone which is very depressing, where you feel that you are a victim, whereas you have not really done anything. So I had a doubt. So when you're addressing to someone and they're not listening to you, and you actually touch them on the shoulder, like if you're saying someone's name continuously 10 times, then you go ahead. So how do you go about a scenario like this backfires on you, where then you are, kind of turned into the oppressor or somebody who's trying to dominate or something like that? How do you clarify those kind of situations appropriately, I would say?
I understand that, when we want to really convey something and someone's not understanding or not getting it or not listening it, we want to the next instinct that comes is we want to be louder, whether it's through our body, like we really want to hey, listen to. But I feel like in such a situation, that kind of behavior may escalate the situation. And so sometimes we just have to know when to maybe just stop. We have to know, maybe this is not the time this person is going to understand. Maybe this is not a place, and maybe we figure out what is a better time and place to have this conversation. Sometimes, depending on the situation, it's best to just maybe address it to how much ever we can and then walk away. Because when it's emotionally heightened, I'm not really sure how much of an impact it's really going to have. But I want to say that it is a very difficult thing to be in, and I feel like at that time it's just like we are just taken, there's a lot of adrenaline going on and it's just instantaneous reaction. It's difficult to really keep our presence of mind
It's difficult to stay calm.
Absolutely.
You're not able to make logical decisions on anything. It's mostly emotional.
Yes.
That was a wonderful answer. Thank you so much.